Back to School, a Peter A.I. short story by Jesus A. Cruz Jr. Why are jeans so hard to shop for? I wondered as we left the store after 2 hours of trying on blue jeans for school. Shopping for any sort of clothes always made me exhausted. But this time it was a lot worse because I was starting middle school and didn't want to embarrass myself at a new school by getting the wrong pants. After we got the pants, we went to another store to get supplies. Pens, pencils, paper, notebooks, things of that sort. "I want this one," said my little sister Sarah, pointing to a purple notebook on a high shelf. I got it down for her. "Okay, Sarah, you need 5 more notebooks, a pack of pencils, and 5 colored folders. I'll help you with that. Peter, here's your list. You can go pick some things out, and I'll be right there," my mother said, handing me a sheet of paper. I started wandering the store, occasionally picking up a few things from the list, but mostly just thinking. About 2 weeks earlier, a group of people saved the world. I was in that group of people. We called ourselves the Association for Leaders of Greatness, or ALG. An organization called Launch tried to make us give them a weapon called the Globe of Earth, something that could very easily destroy the world. We ended up beating them with logic. If the globe didn't work, they wouldn't be able to achieve their goals. Our former member, Carrot Taylor, was the one to destroy it, even though he was actually a Launch sleeper agent. Because of him, the world is still a decent enough place. He was probably being punished as I wandered through the store. He risked everything to help us. We really owed him. Later that day, we got everything prepared for the first day of school, even though it was still a month away. In that month, all I really did was imagine what middle school would be like. I came up with a fictional character named Morgan, who just acted as my friend. She was the only person I was comfortable talking to, as she completely understood everything I was going through. This is obviously because she's a fictional character who only exists in my head. I highly doubt that I would be comfortable talking to anyone the way I talked to Morgan. I told her everything about Launch. I told her about how I felt, and I told her about my thoughts. Those are things I would almost never do. I am very bad at telling people what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling, and frankly, I'd rather just not. The conversations I had with Morgan for that month were really the only things keeping me going. August felt way longer than it should have. On the first day of school, I waited outside and talked to my friends Adeline, Star, and Madeline. Adeline and Star were fraternal twins, and Madeline was their best friend. We talked for a bit, and then the bell rang. I went inside, feeling small and slightly claustrophobic as I pushed my way through the many kids who were clogging up the entrance. When I finally got through, I started feeling nervous. There were so many people I didn't know. I tried to stay with Adeline, Star, and Madeline, but I lost them. I made my way to the gym where I was supposed to wait for the next bell to ring. There was a square ring of other 6th graders sitting against the wall. I joined them and ended up sitting next to 2 people I did not know. To avoid conversation, I pulled out my phone and started playing a game. When the second bell rang, we released in a single file line, and then we entered the hallway. The hallway was filled with people talking to friends, joking around, and doing all sorts of stuff. I stayed close to the right wall and nervously ran my finger through the little crevices in between the bricks as I made my way to the classroom I would be spending most of my first day of middle school in. On that first day, we didn't have a normal rotation schedule. Instead, we would spend most of the day in our one classroom, and then at the end of the day, we'd do a mini rotation to see what our classes were about. As I walked into the classroom and sat down, I got a piece of paper and a pencil from my backpack and wrote something. I wrote down some ideas for the book I was writing. "All right," said the teacher as she made her way to the front of the room. "I am Mrs. Riley, and you are most likely not going to be my students for a while. I am just here to get you started. I know this is going to sound super boring, but today we are going over expectations." Mrs. Riley then went over the school's expectations for the next few hours. It was very boring. I wanted to get to the fun stuff. I wanted to do rotations, but alas, lunch was first. I sat with Adeline, Star, and Madeline, and besides talking about the practice rotations coming up, we also talked about how different middle school was compared to our expectations. Now, I know it hasn't even been a day, and we really haven't even had a normal middle school day yet, but doesn't this feel different to what you thought it was going to be, said Star. "You know what, you're right," said Madeline. "I feel like TV shows are a bit misleading." "Yeah, to be honest, I feel a little disappointed," I said. "I thought this would be some grand adventure, but apparently this is nothing compared to..." Adeline shot me a glance and said, "Don't say anything." "Nothing compared to summer camp." "Well, still, I wonder where middle school will take us. I'm excited. Maybe I'll finally be able to have a normal school experience." After lunch, we said our goodbyes and all went to our separate classrooms. I went back to Mrs. Riley's class and really just sat there not paying attention. I was too busy thinking. Ever since everything happened with lunch, I had been slowly processing it through small memory sessions. I would think back to the summer, how lunch affected me, how they ruined my life. This little zoning out was one of those sessions. Instead of listening to Mrs. Riley talk about when it is appropriate to use cell phones in school, I thought about the battle the ALG had with lunch. I thought about what Sarah had said about murder. She said that killing someone unintentionally wasn't murder. I wondered what tricking people into killing themselves or each other would classify as, because that's a little bit of what we did. I thought long and hard about it and felt like it was intentional. It was also indirect. I noticed my hands were shaking. I tried to remind myself that the battle was staged, that Launch was trying to mess with me, but it was still very difficult. Is intending to kill someone without actually doing it directly just as bad as doing it directly? Is it worse? As I sat in class, I was having these internal philosophical debates with myself, and my hands were shaking all the while. I was aware of my face looking blank, and I remember at one point a kid came up to me and asked if I was okay. I just said that I was fine. As the first bell for the rotation rang, I decided that maybe it wasn't a good idea to reflect on what happened with Launch while at school. The rotation was short, just 10 minutes for each class in a 4-minute passing period. I tried to pay attention to as much as I could, but really the only thing I focused on was orchestra. I knew the teacher already because she was my 5th grade strings teacher, and thinking about playing my viola was strangely comforting. At one point during 4th period, something made a loud noise and I jumped and kind of stood there, frozen. I was like that for about 1 minute, then I was back to normal. I tried not to bring attention to it. At the end of the day, I caught up with the twins and Madeline again, and we talked about how things went. Madeline had to leave quickly, which was good because I needed to talk to the twins. How was it? I said. How was what? Asked Star. Did you think back to it or anything? Did it affect you? I said. Oh, that. Yeah, I tensed up a few times, but nothing too bad. You? I froze. I heard a loud noise and I froze. I'm not doing too bad, though. Adeline, how are you doing? I'm fine, said Adeline. Okay, but were you okay today? I asked. Yeah, I reacted quickly to some things I shouldn't have, but other than that, I'm fine. Okay, so we could all be doing better, but we're fine. That's a good thing, I said. So are we ready? Asked Star. For what? I responded. For whatever comes next. Are we ready to readjust? Are we ready to go back to school? You know what? Yes. We can do this, I said. We have gone through so much. We deserve this. We can readjust to school, I'm sure. With that, we became normal kids again. Well, temporarily, of course. Did you really think we would get that lucky? Well, no, there's much more to come. We would soon face more danger. But for the time being, we were just regular kids who had maybe been through one too many perilous adventures.